Many architects and interior designers around the world have accomplished astonishing and spectacular buildings and spaces. Mosques are one of the most highlighted features of Islamic Nation and are believed to be sacred places where humans spiritually connect with their Creator. We are interior design students of LaSalle College in Jakarta,
and today we will explore the drastic development and changes of mosques around Qatar.
In Middle Eastern countries, Islam is the most prominent religion, and thus mosques are assumed to be a significant and integral part of their lives. Mosques in Qatar are said to have an extremely important spot that profoundly focuses on developing the network, fellowship, and solidarity. Being an Islamic nation, Qatar has more than 2,000 beautiful mosques. The mosques are all a blend of history, faith, and art. The alluring designs of these mosques will leave you mesmerized. In Islam, once a mosque is built, it does not belong to any human. Its owner is God, which makes the expression house of God not only figuratively but legally true under Islamic law. The term masjid refers to any place of worship in Islam, and specifically to the Kaaba and Masjid al-Aqsa. The distinctiveness of the mosque is linked directly to the worldview of Islam. As such, it is seen as a way of life rather than as a simple set of rituals to be performed. Because Islam comprises a complete and comprehensive way of life, the mosque, with its positive and constructive activities, is at heart of the community. The mosque serves the role of a spiritual, educational, social, governmental, administrative, and preventative institution. Throughout history, Muslim communities have always been attached, in one form or another, to the mosque or to the masjid as it is known in Arabic. The masjid was not restricted to being a place of worship, a location of performing rituals, or a social and political dimension of the Muslim community. Instead, it has served as a symbol of belonging and identity. Older mosques in Qatar, like the Al-Sheikh Mosque, portray a more traditional architectural design, while newer mosques like the Education City Mosque encompass both Qatari traditions and modernistic features. By comparing the two, we can see how rapidly advancing architectural styles in Qatar and the efforts to preserve local tradition mosque varies from country to country. Islamic laws or principles do not determine the architecture of the sacred building. The only requirement is that there is enough space for worshippers to stand and bow in rows behind an imam, the person leading the prayer. The architecture of a mosque is rather mandated by the regional traditions at the time and its location. As Qatar develops and becomes more innovative, so do the mosque's shapes and designs while still adhering to aspects of Qatari tradition. As mentioned, one of the oldest operating mosques built in Qatar is the Al-Sheikh Mosque, where it is also known as a Grand Mosque. Built in 1913 to 1914 by the Sheikh Abdullah bin Jassim, the ruler of Qatar at that time, along with the ruler's palace of Qatar, which is now known as the Amir Diwan. The mosque was originally built from the basic building materials of that time, mud, stone, and wood, but it was renovated in 1959. During this time, it featured wooden windows and minaret that was not very high in comparison to average mosques at the time. However, after renovation, it kept its current architecture while still preserving its unique architectural style, evoking its traditional Islamic pride. With said, by using more sustainable materials, the mosque also features a single green octagonal minaret, which presents peace in Islam. Built from 3 tall segments with the highest peak erected upon 8 columns. This advanced model of minaret is seen with more current minarets in Qatar and most Arab countries and Islamic nations. This unique architectural style was attributed to the great Ottoman mosques such as the Sinan Pasha Mosque in Istanbul, Turkey. Many features have influenced the way mosques are built, either to honor the Sheikh or attributed to the Ottomans, where it massively brings out the unique architecture. Another remarkable ancient building, Built by the founder of Qatar, Sheikh Jassim bin Mohammed Al Thani in 1878, is the Bahlia Mosque. It stands as an archaeological, historical, and religious beacon in the heart of Doha, next to Souq Waqif and the Corniche. Historical observers mention that this building reached a level of perfection both in terms of building materials and building skills, as well as the ability to endure and adapt to nature. Bahlia has probably resisted the harsh factors of nature for more than 100 years without the need for major restorations, despite its basic material that it's built from. The large number of domes is obvious in the building, but this is not its only attractive characteristic. The beautiful windows of the mosque also worked as a natural ventilation and cooling system and gave the building extra advantages.
Now that we know all the remarkable roles that mosques played throughout history, we can notice that it is not the same in today's world. There is now a huge limitation in its role and function. Today, mosque primarily functions as places where worship is performed and only occasional educational activities takes place, such as the teachings of Quran or lectures. Compared to the past, the social and administrative roles are definitely abbreviated. However, countries like Qatar, where Muslims are the majority, it is common to see that mosques that are limited in function. This is because there are separate institutions and establishments that carry out tasks that used to be within the boundaries of the mosques. Today, mosques have diminished their educational role since there is a separate Ministry of Education where it can be held in universities, colleges, as well as schools. On the contrary, countries where Muslims are a minority, mosques have taken up different and more comprehensive roles. For example, in some places, the mosque performs the role of a community center. This can be seen in a lot of European countries so that Muslims in the area or the country has a sense of belonging, can give other Muslims the support they need, as well as a positive influence. In more recent news, in March 2020, many places in Qatar had to be locked down due to COVID-19, including mosques. This was simply upsetting news to many Muslims who were used to performing their 5 daily prayers in mosques. Even the adhan changed to call people to pray at home instead of calling them to the mosques. This change was in line with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, advice for cases when people should pray at home instead of going to mosques due to unsafe conditions.
However, once cases started to decrease, the mosque eventually opened up again, but some precautions have been made. They must present their healthy status on the Ihtiraz app, wear face masks, bring their own prayer mats, as well as maintaining social distance. Men and women should both dress modestly in looser fitting clothing that covers the arms and legs, no shorts or sleeveless shirts for either gender. Women should also bring a scarf. Not all mosques will ask female visitors to cover their heads, but it's a sign of respect to have one ready. Now that it is possible for us to visit mosques, let's take a look at the Mosque of Qatar. The mosque is located in Education City and housed within the Minaratain building, which means the 2 minarets. It is a part of Hamad bin Khalifa University and includes the HBKU Library and Faculty of Islamic Studies. It is the premier community-focused mosque in Qatar and the region, designed by Iraqi architect and calligrapher Taha al-Hiti. The 2 mosque minarets are tilted to show people outside the building the direction to the Holy Kaaba, which Muslims must face during their prayers. The minarets feature vertical calligraphy that sweeps upwards, taking the viewer's eyes towards heaven in a contemplation of faith and meaning. The mosque actually stands on 5 pillars, with a verse on each to represent the 5 pillars of Islam. The Education City Mosque is a renowned building, having been honored by regional and international architectural organizations. It is a common ray on the compatibility between Islam and modernity. It can hold 1,800 worshippers in its main prayer hall and another 1,000 in its exterior courtyard. In its outdoor spaces, the Easy Mosque features 4 streams that siphon water to a garden in the center of the building. Each of these represent the 4 rivers of paradise promised in the Quran: water, honey, milk, and wine. The complex also houses the Quranic Botanic Garden, which contains plants which has been mentioned in the Holy Quran, along with the Qatar's native flora. designed to reflect Islamic arts and architecture. The garden focuses on harmony, maintaining and preserving plant diversity from around the world, with a mission to be more than just a place of prayer. The facility has also hosted a variety of events for the entire community since it first opened, offering a diverse range of activities for those who seek to gain knowledge. The Minartain building is also home to Hamad bin Khalifa's University College of Islamic Studies, which provides a unique platform that contributes to critical intellectual debates on Islam in a global context through its blended academic programs and an immersive learning experience. And lastly, the Masharib Jum'ah Mosque, designed by the architect John McAslan and partners, nestled among the traditional houses of Masharib Museum in the Heritage Quarter Masharib downtown. The design of the mosque combined traditional Islamic volumes with modern ideas. Traditional Qatari mosque was the foundation of which the modern Masharib Jum'ah Mosque evolved. Simple and functional interpretations reflect spirituality and order. It is the first LEED Gold certified standalone mosque in the world. The scheme uses local stone, craft techniques, and interpretive details. A key challenge of the design was ensuring the entrances to the mosque and the interior spaces were able to be accessed separately by men and women in accordance with Islamic law. The mosque incorporates a specifically tailored daylight and sunlight designed to create dynamic sun patches inspired by Qatari motifs. It needs no artificial lighting during daylight hours. It embraces key principles of Islamic art, geometric patterns and designs. A colonnade of stone wraps the courtyard on both sides, framing a perfect courtyard square. In its center, a pond gives a sense of calmness and contemplation before entering the prayer hall. The form and configuration of the building is based on that of traditional Qatari mosques, which have for centuries used orientation, shading, natural ventilation, and water to create the comfortable environments for prayer. The design reflects the key principles of Islamic.
From the mosque we looked at today, we see that all of them have the same characteristics of combining traditional concepts with modernism. There is no doubt for Qatar's future mosques to include the same type of concepts. It may even be more modernized than how they are now, such as the Masharib Mosque being an example. The Masharib Mosque is a great indication of how the future mosques of Qatar could look like. However, I believe that someday a very traditional mosque will be built, away from all the modern architecture and infrastructure that Qatar has grown to become, as it is important to highlight the Islamic art with its floral motifs, geometric designs, and radiant colors, to not lose touch with its history, and to commemorate the roots of Islamic architecture, especially in a Muslim country. It will definitely stand out amongst the rest, which could lead to possibly a great landmark for Qatar.
The way Qatar has rapidly transformed their perspective, they have definitely evolved within today's mosques, and many more changes will come along the way. I predict that Qatar can easily show off their strength to preserve the Islamic concept, where they could interpret towards their architecture, interior, as well as their infrastructure. Now that our documentary has come to an end, it was refreshing to educate and acknowledge the history and development of mosques in Qatar.
However, no matter how unconventional these future structures may seem, the Mosque of Qatar provide insight on how the next generation of modern mosques can successfully retain their connection to Islamic heritage and their purpose as a place for prayer and community.